welcome guys. Thank you for watching this video. I remind you that the biggest thank you is sharing this video in your social networks and with your friends. So today we're gonna continue talking about emotional schemes and basically how to deal with emotions. This is our fourth video in this training, so make sure to check out the previous ones. In short, in the previous videos we discussed that during emotional socialization, during our upbringing, we learn different ideas about emotions, different theories about emotions. And these theories and ideas influence how we behave, how we try to process our feelings, and what we feel towards ourselves, others, and so on. If we learn harmful ideas during the process of emotional socialization, it can lead to a lot of misery and a lot of suffering in our adult life. Like, for example, if you are socialized as a man in a patriarchal culture, you might get this idea that men don't have feelings except for anger. Okay, so you manage and feel only anger, and all the other feelings you cannot process, or you kind of try to imagine you don't have them. This can cause a lot of problem in your family life, in your work life, in just your general well-being, mental well-being. So this is an example of such harmful idea that we get from society. There are many more examples, I won't go in detail. Just the important is that during emotional socialization we learn certain ideas about our emotions, how to deal with them, what they mean, if they are okay, if they are not okay, and so on and so on. Emotions are very important for us to feel secure in this world, to understand how our internal mental states change, how we interact with other people, and so on. So if we have ideas that break our connections with our emotion, we end up feeling very anxious, or we end up feeling unsafe, or we end up feeling completely confused in this world and in our relationship with ourselves and others. And sometimes inability to process emotions leads to addictions and conflicts, constant conflicts, and so on and so on. So in the previous video we talked about validation. Validation is basically saying that your emotion makes sense. Like, it makes sense that you feel overwhelmed. It makes sense that you feel ashamed. It makes sense that you feel lonely today. Okay, so it's kind of saying that it makes sense. If you want more details, please check the previous video. I won't go into much explanation right here. Today we're going to talk about meaning of emotions. Some people during their childhood, when they get upset, when they get happy, and so on, their parents, people who surround them, they tell them, oh, you got upset because I don't know, your cookie broke, it's understandable that you got upset, and so on and so on. So they kind of explaining to the child what is going on, why they got upset. And this is like ideal case, but many parents, they don't do this. Instead they start blaming children, shouting at them, punishing them for feeling upset, for example, or they tell them that their emotions don't make any sense, it's just a cookie, who cares that it got broken? You know, kind of invalidating their experience. So the child going through these socialization learns that my emotions don't have any meaning, they are meaningless, they are weird, they are strange, they are harming others, like harming my parents, so I should try to suppress them, for example. My emotions are harmful, I shouldn't follow them, I shouldn't try to engage with them, and so on and so on. And this of course leads to problems in adult life, like addictions, like attempts to suppress your emotions, and this way actually causing a lot of internal conflict, and so on and so on. Let's talk about our meaning of emotions. Step number one in today's lesson will be describing for yourself in your notebook or somewhere in writing which emotions don't make sense for you, which emotions seem meaningless. Maybe it's all emotions for you. No, maybe it's just some emotions. So if you have some emotions that seem meaningful, you write them on the right, let's say. If some emotions seem meaningless, you write them on the left. So please pause this video and return when you finish this first step. So separating which emotions are easy for you to understand what they mean and which emotions are difficult to understand what they mean. Step number two. Number two is kind of investigating possible reasons for your emotions. Like, what reasons could possibly lead to this emotion? Give yourself some time to think. Second question is maybe which thoughts or images in your head appear in your head when you have this emotion, or which events, which situations, which thoughts trigger these emotions. So you can also pause the video and give some time for yourself to reflect on emotions that you noted, what actually can be the reason for them, and then come back. So today I'm going to give you like just general possible reasons for our emotions. There can be something else. Reason number one is connection of our emotions with our thoughts, assumptions, and core beliefs about ourselves, about the world, and so on. Like, for example, if your core belief is that I should do everything right from the first try, and you try to do something and you fail, you're gonna feel ashamed. So your shame has meaning. It's showing that you have some kind of core belief or assumption that makes you feel shame. Okay. Another example, if you think that life is meaningless, my life is over, I am miserable, I am so unlucky, and so on and so on. If you have many negative thoughts, it's understandable that you're gonna feel desperate, you're gonna feel maybe very miserable, sad, and so on. So explanation number one is that emotions are often connected with our ideas, with what we think. Or if you think that I should be feeling very miserable, very upset at someone's funeral, then you're gonna feel upset or ashamed or anxious that you don't feel as sad as you think you should be feeling. So this is number one, connections with emotions, with our thoughts. Thing number two is biological component. Oftentimes our emotions appear as result of our physical well-being and physical functioning. This is why when someone comes with depression to my consultations, I always direct them to check their iron deficiency, to check their hormones and other things, because sometimes when you have iron deficiency, you can feel very tired all the time and you don't understand why, but this is because you don't have enough iron. Or if you feel upset for no reason, maybe the reason is actually you have some hormonal imbalance. So biological component, it also especially important for someone who has children, who just had a child, because there's this postpartum depression. Then also for people who have any kind of illness that influences our emotions, which can be many. Then also it can be what else? For example, premenstrual dysphorical disorder. This is a disorder when you feel super depressed about a week or 2 weeks before your periods, and then this depression stops at around 3 days after the start of the period. So some women suffer from this and they don't understand why they feel so horrible, but in reality it's just hormonal thing. Also, if you have some kind of genetic component, it can also count as biological. So if your parents, grandparents suffered from depression, let's say, it's likely that you have some kind of genetic component to also be prone to those feelings. So explanation number 2 is a biological component. Our biology can influence our emotions and can influence the way we think. So if you have hormonal imbalance and you feel upset, you're gonna think upset um, upset thoughts, negative thoughts, and believe that you don't understand why, but in reality it's biological component. So if you ever feel some weird emotions, you don't understand where they come from, good idea to go get checked for your hormones, for your nutrients, vitamins, and so on. Yeah. Number 3 is connections of your emotions and behaviors. This is very common. Like, for example, you are passive, you are isolating yourself, you are avoiding any new experience, you just kind of sit in your own place for many days without meeting other people, without trying new things, and so on and so on. Mm, Maybe this is why you feel more upset. Maybe this is why you feel more miserable. Here, to figure this out, you can make such experiment, like forcing yourself to do some new small things and then seeing, does your feeling of misery, does your feeling of sadness, loneliness change if you actually do something differently. So oftentimes the way we behave shapes our emotions. Same, if you don't exercise, if you don't take care of your hygiene, if you don't eat enough, if you don't sleep well, it's no wonder you're gonna feel very, very miserable. Okay, next. Tam, 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 tam. But yes, so passivity, avoidance of new experience, and isolation often lead to unpleasant emotions. Same, sometimes we don't understand where positive emotions come from. Like, for example, you were very happy when you were dating your ex, and you think that it's because he or she made you that happy. But in reality, if you analyze, maybe it was because you were exercising more, maybe because you were meeting more people, maybe because you were going to many new places, and so on and so on. So sometimes we attribute reason for our well-being, for us feeling good, to things that are not actually the reason. Like, for example, to being in relationship, while in reality it's other things. Okay, this we did. Number 4 is truthfulness of your thoughts. The thing is that many people think that if I am afraid of something, but I know that this is not gonna happen, I know that this is unreasonable to be upset about it or to be afraid about it, and so on and so on, it doesn't mean that the thoughts, and they think that these thoughts shouldn't influence me. Like, for example, if you have random thoughts that, oh, maybe my boyfriend doesn't love me, you tell yourself that no, there is enough proof that he loves me, this is unreasonable, and so on. I shouldn't feel upset because he actually does love me. Here, in reality, even if your thought, even if some idea like my boyfriend doesn't love me is not realistic, is not connected to reality, is not truthful, you can still feel upset about it. Okay, so when you have such thoughts appearing in your mind, it's normal that your emotions react with some getting upset or getting excited and so on, even if the thought itself is not true. Okay, so this is very important. So if you think about something, even if you know that it's unrealistic, that there is no reason to be afraid, no reason to be upset, and so on, but these thoughts still appear in your head, they can trigger some emotions, and this is normal. So not only truthful thoughts can influence your emotional feelings. your emotions. Also, very important here to understand that our mentalization, that is our ability to monitor our own mental states, to understand them, and to believe or not believe in our automatic thoughts, this changes drastically in times of big stress, or when your attachment system gets activated, like in close romantic relationships, for example, or in times when you feel very emotional. This is why even completely mentally healthy people can commit a murder, because they got carried away with their emotional affect. So what is important, that our degree of belief in automatic thoughts is different depending on our emotional state. Like, for example, if you feel very emotional, if you are under a lot of stress, if you get triggered, if you get pressured to decide something immediately, then you might more easily believe in automatic thoughts and be less critical. However, if you feel calm, if you generally are not emotionally aroused to a very high level, then you're not gonna believe some, automatic thoughts. You're gonna be critical to them. So this is why, for example, people with borderline pattern, um, like personality disorder with borderline pattern, they can easily fall in this state when they completely believe their automatic thoughts, that, for example, their boyfriend doesn't love them, because they get so easily triggered into emotional arousal, and then their head is not working properly. So it's very important that, first of all, ideas that are not truthful can still influence our emotions, and secondly, that in emotional states, in stressful states, if we are tired, if we are hungry, if we are like not at our best, then we believe in automatic thoughts much more than we would if we were in good state. Yeah. So number 5 is undervaluing of important life events. Sometimes we can see this situation, like a person says, I don't understand why I feel so tired all the time and why I feel miserable and depressed. And then you start talking with them, like what happened in their life recently. And they, for example, changed their job, moved to another country, went through pandemic, learned about news about some political events going on that made them very upset. They, for example, made a lot of maybe they had a child, maybe they changed their career, maybe they broke up with their partner, maybe somebody they love died. Even if it's just a pet, it's still a big event. So oftentimes you can hear from someone that I don't understand why I feel upset, but in reality they had a lot of significant life events happening to them that make them feel upset or tired or exhausted or something else. And here it's also important that each of us is unique, and each of us can process events in our life at our own speed. So sometimes you look at a person, they have a lot of things changing in their life and they feel okay, and you think like, I should be able to feel okay as well. But in reality, your mind, your body, your just everything works differently from them. So, and that's fine, people are different. So maybe some events are more difficult for you to process than for other people. And maybe some other events are easier for you to process than for other people. So don't compare yourself so much to others. So number 5 is not paying enough attention to significant life events. If you became retired, if you changed your job, if you had a child, if you broke up with a partner or you got married, if you got promotion, actually positive life events are also stressful for us in some way, so they also need some effort to process them. Yes, so this was number 5. And number 6, um, actually, one more example about number 5. For example, a woman decided to get married and moved in with her husband, but because they decided that they're gonna start a family and he earns enough, she stopped going to her own job. And then she started feeling depressed. and she would be like, I don't understand why I'm depressed. My husband loves me, everything is fine, we live in a nice place, we have financial stability, we have everything that we need. But in that case, for example, she felt depressed because she is not going to her job as normal. She had her routines broken that she was used to for many years. She doesn't have her need for communication met in this relationship enough. Like, she can't talk with her husband the same way that she was talking a lot to different people at work. Maybe her need for competence is not met. Like, at work she was feeling important, she was feeling competent, she was happy seeing that something she does causes change, and so on. So in reality, she might feel depressed because of this event and not just out of the blue for no reason. And this brings us to number 6, is connection of our emotions with our needs. We have many different needs. I will have separate video about them more in detail, but now let me try to find them just to give you general idea what they are. So, our needs. First of all, our need can be need for comfort. And here we have need for health, need for fresh air, need for nutrition, need for being physically active, need for being touched, need for safety. Then we have need for rest, need for sleep, need for relaxation, need to restore ourselves. Then we can have needs of pleasure, like need for sex, need for delicious food, need for nice smells, need for beauty, need for entertainment. These were like comfort section. Then another section is self-development. Here we can have need for self-acceptance, self-respect, sincerity with ourselves. Then we can also have need for freedom, need to have a choice, okay, need for your own space, personal space, need for autonomy, need for spontaneity, need for creativity, need for openness, need for a challenge. People need a challenge. It's boring without some challenges. Need for competence. It's when you do something and you see like, oh, I can do it. Cool. Need for mindfulness and for understanding what is going on. Need for new information and learning new things. Then can also be different needs of contact with other people, like needs for closeness, needs for friendship, needs for love, need for acceptance, need for being taken care of, need for compassion, empathy, involvement, understanding, respect, um, being approved of, need for feeling connection with others, and so on and so on and so on. Then can also be need for harmony with others, need for being like important to other people in their life, need to make some important influence on the world and ourselves. And the thing is that every day we have different needs, and every time that we have our need met or unmet, we're gonna have some feelings. And this is completely normal. Like, for example, if you have a need for rest, but you were very busy today, you might feel irritated at the end of the day at someone you love when they try to talk to you because you have that need for rest and no need for talking with them. Okay, or you can feel or maybe you have this need for challenge, for competence, for discovering new things, and so on and so on. And in this case, if you just are like a housewife, maybe you will feel upset and miserable and depressed and tired all the time because this need for challenge, for adventure, for competence is not satisfied. Or if you feel upset that somebody said something not nice towards you, Maybe it's because you have this need for understanding, support, connection not met. So basically, always, when we have some emotions, almost always, we can connect them to some needs, to some basic need or social need or self-expression need or connection with other need, and so on and so on. And what is important, that it's never possible to satisfy completely all needs. Like if you rest enough, maybe your need for challenge will not be satisfied. If your need for challenge is satisfied, maybe you didn't rest enough. So it's a very common situation that you can have mixed feelings. Like on one hand, you feel happy that you slept in today. On the other hand, you feel annoyed about it because your need for challenge was not satisfied. On one hand, you feel nice because you rested, for example, today. On the other hand, you feel lonely because your need for closeness and connection with others was not satisfied. So oftentimes we have different needs, and they are often like not met all, not all of them are met. So we often have many feelings about the same thing. Like if you decide to have a child, you're gonna have maybe need for some importance, need for connectedness, need for um, love satisfied, but maybe your need for engagement with outside world, for competence, for challenge in outside life is not satisfied. So it's very important to remember it. And the thing is that we should not even strive to completely meet all of the needs. Instead, if you don't have some need met, you can just tell yourself, okay, I rested today, but my need for connection with other people is not met. So that's why I feel lonely. The point is not even to meet the need, the point is to explain to yourself why you feel a certain feelings. And this already makes a feeling much more manageable when you tell yourself, this is why. And sometimes some of our needs are impossible to meet. Like maybe you have a need for health and relaxation, but you're not in circumstances that allow you to have this health and relaxation. So here what we can do is naming the need, naming the feeling, and accepting the situation as it is if we cannot change it. So, and here you see this important function of feelings. They connect us with our needs, and they make sure that we need our own authentic life instead of just following some ideas of what our lives should be like, instead of just conforming to what other people think our life should be like. So if we understand our emotions, if we understand the meaning of our emotions, we can understand which needs we have that are met or unmet, what makes us happy, what makes us miserable, what we should pursue in life, and what we should prioritize in life. So connection with your emotions is really, really important. And generally people who feel disconnected from their emotions, when they end up at a psychotherapist, um, they might often say that I lived a life, but it was not mine. I lived a life just like following what other people told me to do. And I don't understand who I am and what I want. So oftentimes it begins small, just understanding what feelings you have and what needs are behind those feelings. So yeah, I hope I gave you a lot of things to think about. And number 7, last explanation that I'm going to give today, is connection to our past. Oftentimes we feel certain things and we don't understand why we feel it, but in reality it's like echo of our past. Like for example, in your past you had a cute cat that you loved very much, but now it died, and then you see a cat on the street or at your friends, and you suddenly feel sad, and you don't understand why I feel sad. Nothing sad is going on, but maybe you feel sad because seeing this cat with their human triggered your memories about your own cat, and you miss them and you feel sad. Another example is, for example, you had some kind of traumatic experience in your past, in your childhood, in your teenage years, in your early adult life, and then you meet someone who resembles the person who attacked you, let's say, and you suddenly feel scared, or you suddenly feel like you hate them, or like they are really unpleasant for you, this person is really unpleasant for you, and you don't understand why. They didn't do anything wrong, but then you remember that they have the same hairstyle as the one who attacked you, or they talk in the same way that your abuser did, or they even are the same horoscope sign as someone else. This also happens. So number 7 is connecting your emotions with your past experience, because sometimes our emotions are not reaction to our present, but rather echo of our past. So it's very interesting how our mind functions, isn't it? And I know it might seem a bit complicated in the way that I'm telling you, like so many things going on and so on, but it's really not that difficult if you just develop a small habit of paying attention to your emotions and analyzing their meanings in your daily life. And your home task today will be actually understanding what each of your emotion means during your week. So you go around, you have your notebook, you have your diary or something, and there you note, like, I felt anxious. Why? And then you list all possible reasons. Then you note, I felt sad. Why? Then you list all possible reasons. Or you note, I felt happy. Why? And then you list all possible reasons. And this way you can also find very interesting, you can discover many interesting things. Like, for example, you can understand that something small, like nice smell, can increase your happiness very much. Or like, you can discover small things that you actually like and then use them more often. So it's really cool. Let me remind you what reasons can be for emotions. First one, connections with thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs. Second, biological component. Third is connection of emotions with your behavior. So you behave certain way and it makes you feel certain way. Number 4 is that emotions can appear because of our automatic thoughts, even if these thoughts are not true. Number 5 is emotions can be connected to important life events that you lived through in the last 1-2 years, let's say, or even longer ago. Number 6, emotions can be connected to our needs. And number 7 is connection of emotions with our past, that emotions can be like echo of our past. I will put some links in the description for the list of the needs that we have, for the list of emotions that we have, so that you can use these materials doing this diary. But please make notes like this, and every day during the next week, your home task is to notice several emotions that you felt that seem like meaningless to you, and then take some time and think. Maybe it's connected to your assumptions or beliefs. Maybe it's biological component. Maybe it's connected to your behavior. Maybe it's because you believed in your automatic thoughts, or maybe it's because of some life event, or maybe it's because some need is not satisfied, or maybe it's connected to your past. And yes, this will be your home task, and in the next video we will continue talking about our emotional skills. And this is basic, but this is so important, because understanding your emotions makes you able to build the life that is truly yours and to be truly happy. And also understanding your emotions helps you make many nice discoveries, that maybe some small things make you very happy and you didn't notice it, or maybe some small things make you very miserable and you also didn't notice it. So you can actually change things. Yes, and please share this video, please share my channel. As always, it's the best thank you you can give, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.